many other women, have a really hard time trusting men, and I realize I have a very deep-seated resentment towards them. I've always wondered why, because I've never been heartbroken by a man. I've never really been that hurt by a guy in my life, and I've always wondered, why do I have this kind of deep-seated resentment and hatred and some very negative core beliefs surrounding men? And as a 28-year-old woman who has an avoidant attachment and has never been in an official relationship, this is something I'm obviously actively trying to understand and work through. But one thing that has greatly helped me is looking back at some of the first men or guys in my life. So that would be my dad and my brother. My dad, I have the best dad in the world. I will die on that hill. I am such a daddy's girl. He he is the best dad in the world. But my brother, on the other hand, that is a very interesting relationship and dynamic that I have with him. He's my older brother, and for some context, I'm the oldest sister, so it's him, me, and then I have two younger sisters. I was raised by a covert narcissistic mother while my dad traveled a lot for work. So the children were mainly raised under my mom's care, obviously, in her mentality and philosophies and just beliefs of the world. And because of her covert narcissism and just being an Asian immigrant in that culture, the eldest boy, he was the golden child. He could do no wrong. He was my mother's favorite. She worshiped the ground he walked on. She kissed his feet like he was a king. I was her scapegoat. I was her punching bag as the eldest firstborn daughter. I became her therapist. I also became her punching bag. I became her helper. I became the mother. I had to step up and fill roles that she clearly fell short of. And my brother, all this time, did nothing. My older
So wait a minute, wait a minute. She's trying to figure out why she has this built up resentment towards men. All right. And I'm going to get to the whole thing, and I always like to give credit, so I'll leave a link down in the description back to her. She's trying to have a conversation. She's never been in a relationship, a real relationship before, as she just admitted. Her father is a phenomenal person and played a great role in her life, and she adores her father. Her mother, which we got to get rid of this word narcissist because it's overused, and I don't think that people truly understand what the meaning of a narcissist is, and they need to look it up because we just using it for anything that we don't care for, that we don't agree with a person, right? But she says, let's just use her words, her mother was a covert narcissist, whatever that means, right? But obviously she still took care of her kids because you grew up as an adult and you're able to do what you need to do and you wasn't abused. But you felt like she fell short of some things and that she worshiped the ground that the son walked on. And so now you use that as built up resentment. And I'm assuming that she's probably going to say that maybe the son isn't as successful or his defense mechanism or something like that. I don't know, man. I'm not sure. But ultimately, she started off the video. She started off the video by saying that she has a built up resistance towards men. So if your mother is the person that caused the problems in your life based off of what you described, and the father is a phenomenal person, and the children, right? The children are just being raised. They just trying to figure it out. Y'all all in the same boat together. I don't know if she's the oldest or the youngest. I don't remember what she said, but the children are just in there. They just trying to figure it out, and they're just trying to work it out, right? And you now feel a certain type of way towards men as a whole. Yo, why don't these women, honestly, and I'm just keeping it 100, why don't these women just straight up just say, yo, I just don't like men. Whatever it is that's within me, because this is a choice. I can look at a woman and say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to hold you accountable for your bad choices, but that doesn't mean that I hate women. And we've become so sensitive as a society, as a culture, to where we'll now describe or paint a picture that a man hates women if he doesn't necessarily agree with their cultural norms or society's definition of how women should operate, or if they get too far away from what I think is traditional family norms, right? Doesn't mean that you hate women. It could mean that you hate the behaviors from the women that are the most vocal or loud towards what's happening in the culture. You can hate the way that they vote. You can hate the way that they treat their children when they have children out of wedlock. But I mean, let's be clear. Let's be 1,000% clear. Whatever it is that she just painted, that is no reason and no excuse for you to sit here and say, I have a built up resentment for men. But maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm off. Let's hear the rest of what she has to say. And maybe I've completely missed the boat.
my older brother, the one I cried out to for help, the first guy in my life, the first person I looked to for help because my mom was abusive. She was never safe for me. My dad was always gone. So my big brother was the person I looked to for safety, for comfort. And I never got that. I was always shunned. I was always shut down. I was always ridiculed. I was always muted. And I realize now his survival mechanism as the golden child in a household with a covert narcissistic mother, in order for him to survive, he had to stay avoidant. He couldn't protect me because if he protects me, he goes against my mother, and my mother is the caregiver. And as children, we do anything to stay safe in the eyes of the caregiver so that we can survive. So my brother turned into an avoidant, passive person that is scared to step out. While I became very masculine. I became the achiever. I was the athlete. I was the first to move out. I got the big job. I was the achiever because I never had that love. And at the same time, my house was so harsh. I became masculine to survive. And that resentment is still something I'm working on because on paper, if I look at the accomplishments, and I know this is not the way I want to be thinking because I don't like to go by the world standards of success, but that's why I'm working through this resentment. On paper, I have done a lot more than my brother. I have done a lot more courageous things in my life, I think, and he has stayed small and avoidant and never really healed with his trauma. And
I'm still trying to understand because she's doing a deep dive of his life. Never mind the fact that she's basically throwing him under the bus on social media. And anybody that may know them or know that he's her brother, I'm pretty sure that he didn't put all of this information on the internet, but she's using an excuse to say that she is resentful towards men in general to basically throw her brother under the bus. I'm still trying to figure out the space or the part where, she can logically say that, yep, I have a resentment towards all men, even though she's never been in a relationship before. But we might get there.
because of that, me being masculine and doing all these achievements and doing so much, but never ever getting the love or approval from my mother, while my brother was allowed to be feminine and soft and do nothing and be the golden boy and get all her love. And that has greatly affected my negative core beliefs surrounding the male species. And obviously I want to heal. My dream is to one day be in a very healthy, secure, happy, joyful, loving marriage. But in order to do that, I need to work through some of these deep-seated questions and resentment that I have towards men. And that really helped me connect dots when I was like, I've never been heartbroken by a man. All the guys I've dated have treated me pretty well. Like, why? Why do I have this hatred, this deep negative core belief that they're, yeah, I'm not going to say it out loud, but I'm working through my resentment. And when I connected the dots of my
So
first
she was
experience,
resentful that her brother was treated well during their growing up with him. And so that's how she justifies her resentment towards all men. And even though the men that she's dated, they've treated her great, her fathers treated her great. People, honestly, I just truly believe in my heart that most people want to be victims. They want to be victims.
first experiences
First world
with
problems,
men
bro.
or the male species was my big brother. And that was not a good relationship. And to this day, he's still very passive, feminine, avoidant. And that is because of the dynamic we
This
grew
is
up under.
crazy.
And I pray that he finds healing one day. But unfortunately, we are not that close. And every time the family gets together, it re triggers that anger and resentment and those core beliefs. Because again, when the whole family's together, he's getting all the praise, mother loves him. And here I am and
So
receiving
she resents her mother because
love.
her mother loves the son.
So part of it obviously is decentering and still healing that mother wound. But I thought the aspect and the angle of why I am still so wounded in the male department, and why I have such a negative core belief on them and the male species in general, that was really interesting, realizing it came from my brother.
Don't have kids. Stay to yourself. Go your own way. And that's the lesson that I get from this. There's nothing that you can do that ultimately will be enough for any of these people. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.